What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today we're gonna make this thing look a little nicer. That is the, AKA lawn mowing truck, the 2006 Silverado that we keep here for, pulling the lawnmower around. My son daily drives it to school, and of course to mow. And guys, look, I've had these wheels laying around for a while. I told you about them a while back, but today we're gonna do a couple things. We're gonna put the wheels on. Get these old, this one makes this creaky noise when you're going down the road. Just makes you absolutely nuts if you have the windows down. But either way, I've got the wheels in the back. I'll show you here in just a second. The other thing we're going to do, guys, is we're gonna level this thing out a little bit just by putting a 2-inch drop shackle on the back. Now, look, this truck, I don't have any plans of getting real crazy. I know I told you guys I bought a hood and a tailgate. I don't even think I'm gonna mess with that, guys, but these wheels I have had laying around, I got a smoking deal on a set of brand new tires off of Facebook Marketplace. And check this out, guys. The other day I took this thing to work with me because I had to pick something up. I use this to, haul stuff that I don't necessarily want, in something nice. But look, a can of paint dropped off in front of me. Look at that. Now, I think a lot of it will hose off. I just haven't had a chance to do that, but holy cow. What's funny is my son said, if I'd have done that, I'd be grounded. He's probably right. Anyway, guys, check out what we've got here. These are probably played out on these trucks, but they just look so good. It's a set of LTZ 20s. I just don't think it gets much better for the price. I picked these things up for like 250 bucks for wheels only. I just got these tires, guys, brand new. They took the stickers off of them when they mounted and balanced them. A little bit different size than what normally you would put on these. These are Toyos, and I'll list them in the description down below, but they're like a 285/50 20, whereas the standard size that you would get like off a Tahoe is a 275/55. There's about a ½ inch difference. Not a whole lot. We're not going to be able to tell here. It may come down just a little bit. But the other thing we're going to be installing are just some standard Beltec drop shackles. Pretty common stuff here, guys. But either way, I figured I'd bring you along in the process. I think we're going to start in the back here. I'm going to chalk the front wheels up real quick. Look at all the water from the AC running, guys, down there. Hopefully we don't have to get into that. But let's get this thing off the ground in the back. Here's what I generally do. I've lifted from the center of the differential. You can see I've put jack stands on both sides, right under the cap, right when the frame starts to straighten out. So, if this thing didn't have a hitch on it, guys, life would be a lot easier. But the problem is we can't get the bolts out here, and this is an aftermarket hitch, as you can see. But we can't get the bolts out for the shackle without removing this. Some of them are cut where you can get the bolt out, but this one is not. It's cut right above that. But so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to get, I imagine these are 21 millimeters. Generally the factory, that's what they put in. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can knock these bolts out. There should be 6 of them. If you have a factory one, there'd be 3 on each side, like you see the 2 there, 1 here, but then there'd also be 2 coming up from the bottom of the bumper right there. We don't have that. So we're gonna get this out of the way real quick. May have to put a wrench on the top side of this one, but this guy here is threaded. So once we get those loose, this guy will just drop out of place. And then make sure, guys, if you've got, that's actually mounted to the bumper. If you've got like your wiring, make sure you grab it as well, because you don't want to pull this down with the tension on the wire. The factory will have a couple clips here on this side that kind of go up to this junction. Now I found the sizes, it's actually 20 millimeter on the inner ones. Like I said, guys, generally it's 21, 18. It's generally all metric. So let's see here. One of the other good things that you need to do before we start even taking that down is we're gonna put a little bit of WD-40 here to help us out when we go to take these out. I'm gonna put a little in there, a little in here, a little in here. Believe me, it'll help. We're gonna do that on both sides and let that be setting while we're taking this guy out. You can see I've got that thing on the ground. Guys, generally what I do is hold it up with my leg on one side and while I'm taking the last bolt out. You can do it by yourself if you'd like. Now we need to get these 21s loose. Should be a 21 on both sides. I'm gonna loosen the top one first. A lot of times, if you have enough room, you can get your impact up in there. That's awesome. If not, guys, you can use and actually go to tighten. This on the end, I believe, is a 12 millimeter or a 10 millimeter. So a lot of times you can go to like tighten mode and just put your wrench here if you need like a smaller, let's say a ratchet or whatnot. But that's where I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna take both of these loose on both sides. It actually came out a little easier than most, guys. So what we need to do now is we need to get the bottom one out, okay? Here's what I've got. We've barely got this thing resting on the ground. I'm gonna have to pull this hitch the rest of the way out, but we've got it resting on the ground just a little bit, but you're gonna have to play with the jack as far as going up and down in order to get this guy loose. I like to use a kind of a hammer to get them started. But what's gonna happen is, if you don't have both the jack stands and the rear end supported, and let's say you were just lifting from, let's say, just the middle of the differential, when this guy comes loose, it's gonna slam up and hit the bed and dent the bed. If, you know, like on this truck, it's not as big a deal, but we don't want to dent on the inside of the bed from that flying up and hitting it. So like I said, you got to kind of have a delicate balance of lifting and then having support up front. So we're gonna hammer this one out. I'm gonna let a majority of the pressure off my jack, which I think for the most part I have off now, but once we get the pressure off the jack, get the bolts out, then we can lift it up and we'll be able to fish the top one out, hopefully. Another thing you may notice happening is they get stuck about right here, so you can only tap them so far with the hammer. So what I'm gonna do, guys, I'm gonna put my 21 on the end and we will rotate this out. You may have to take your spare tire down, or have I've got a swivel here that we're gonna be using in order to thread this the rest of the way out. Now that we got those bottom ones out, we can move to the top ones. And guys, those did fight me. I had to hammer them out and then I had to use the ratchet to thread them out. The top ones, I have a feeling they're gonna do the same problem, but we're gonna tap on them with the hammer up there, see if we can get them moving, broke free. And then basically what we need to do is thread that bolt over the top side of the frame. You can see you just have enough room up there. I noticed on my dad's step side, we had to lift the bed in order to do that, but on these, you don't have to. They'll go up high enough. I've released all the pressure on the rear end, but they'll go up high enough to sneak that over the top side of the frame. So that is our next step, and once we do that, our shackle will be completely loose. I wanted to show you guys how I'm taking these out. I could not get them to knock out with the hammer, but I got a pry bar, or not a pry bar, but a breaker bar on there. And I'm using a 10 millimeter on the end of this thing to thread it out. And sometimes that's the way you got to do things. These things, a lot of times, especially, you know, being at the rear of the truck, getting all kinds of stuff splashed up against them, they get rusty. So I probably got it loose enough now where I could tap it out and there's no pressure on it. So we'll go ahead and do that and get the shackle out of place. And then we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Now this one fought me and fought me and fought me, guys, but we got it out. It just took a lot of WD-40 hitting, tightening, loosening. So a couple things we need to do. First off, we need to clean the threads up on this guy. I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on both the inside. I'm gonna probably spray a little paint on this section here. But we're gonna do that. But I took the old one out and you can see it laying up against the tire, and the opening, you can see the opening there is facing back. Well, on the Beltec one, the opening actually faces forward. So we're gonna put it up in here. This top one would be a 2-inch drop, bottom one 1 inch, and then obviously if we went back together with our stock one, that's no drop. So we're gonna start with the 2-inch. We're gonna go ahead and put these back into place, and I'm just gonna set it up around the leaf spring up there, put the bolt through like that, and then set both sides at the same time down into the pocket, and then thread our bottom ones in. As you can see, we've got it set down in place with the opening, like I said, facing forward. So we're not gonna tighten these up yet, guys. We're not ready to do that. We really need to load the suspension before we do that. And before I load the suspension, I wanna go ahead and get my, I'm gonna go ahead and put this guy back in place because I can still tighten these with it in there. So I want to go ahead and put it up there. And then the other thing I want to do is go ahead and get the jack stands out from under it, and we'll lift up the rear end so we can get to the tires next. But I think the next thing you're going to see will be us whipping these old tires and wheels off. Now these are like most other GM wheels. They're 7/8. It's a really close fit here for an impact socket. The noise you're hearing, obviously I'm up against the plate. Holy cow, those things are on there. Well, I'm gonna have to get a smaller 7/8. I think I've got a smaller one. We'll try it. Always something, you know? Those are supposed to screw on the studs, I thought. But holy cow, it almost acts like you gotta pry this sucker out. We may have to get a screwdriver or something and pry on this, because it doesn't act like it wants to pop out of here. Normally these screw onto the lug nuts down below. Maybe they've just been on here a long time. Or maybe I'm taking them off wrong. I don't know that I've ever had a set of these wheels, to be honest with you. Let's go get something to pry on. There's actually a little channel around this whole thing that these things snap into. Isn't that weird? So that's just a plastic cap. And then maybe we can take this off. Okay. What a joke. All right, that's new to me, guys. I wondered why the front one was actually missing this piece. So that's a cover. Who'd ever known that? Okay, let's see if we get these off now. Now the cool thing is, we can reuse these lug nuts. Since those wheels have covers, which is kind of nice, that'll look a little better. I bet that's noisy on camera, guys, sorry. But see, listen to that. That's what I'm hearing going down the road. It is annoying. So, let's get this wheel over here. See if we can. Now these are directional tires, guys. If you don't know which direction goes where, it actually says on the outside of the tire, right or left. Golly, they're quite a bit heavier. Hope this little 6-cylinder can get down the road with these on there. Now one other thing I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to, wipe these down a little. They're not perfect. They've got some pitting on them. But believe me, it's going to make a really big difference in the look of this truck. Even with the rust and whatnot, I think it's going to look nice. And obviously, once I get it on the ground, I'll torque them down, but for now, let's just get them snugged, and then I'll clean them. Perfect. Looks good. Got them wiped down. I won't show you guys any more of this. I think it's kind of cool to see tires and wheels go on. At least it is to me. But anyway, we'll go ahead, go around the whole entire thing, which means we'll have to set it down, get the front off the ground. I won't show you guys that, but we'll come back in a minute and we'll talk about how we're going to torque those shackles in the back. And then of course, we'll be able to kind of see this thing on the ground, hopefully. I am not sure that there is a better looking stock wheel on one of these trucks. I really just, this look, guys, it just looks so much better. even though the wheels aren't perfect and the truck's not perfect, it just gives it that look. Those chunky tires, I kind of like this look, guys. But anyway, we need to tighten up the back. We went ahead and torqued those down. I torqued them to 120 foot-pounds, put the caps on. But before we get on the back and tighten it up, I like to bounce up and down on it, on the bumper, to get things nice and seated. And now we can get under there and I'll talk about how we're gonna torque them down. So once we have the suspension, what's really nice, guys, is this thing isn't slammed, so I don't have to lift it up. I can have it on the ground, bounce up and down in the bed, and we need to torque this to 70 and the top to 70. Now, before we do that, don't put your torque wrench on here and just go forever, guys. I like to put this 10 millimeter on the end here, my 21 on this guy, and then tighten this up. So what I will do is it'll actually be loosening this, but this will be tightening, if that makes sense, because we're going the opposite way. Because we can't get a wrench on the backside. Well, we can get a wrench, but we can't get a ratchet back there. So to me, that's the easiest way to run it down and then worry about putting 70 on it. And we'll put 70 obviously on the top and the bottom on both sides. And that'll pretty much be it. Well, here we have it, guys. All torqued down. And look, that is very, very important if you want it to not squeak or bind or have any issues. But now this thing just needs a good wash down. Try to get some of that paint off the side. Look, hey, we're still a rusty lawn mowing truck, but just with a little more class, right? Probably 2 inches. I don't ever measure. I probably should measure, and I know I need to mow here, but I don't ever measure these things before and after when I do these. And you know, it's not really setting completely level on something level, but I don't think you can argue with the results, especially from, you know, 10 feet away, as they call them, 10 footers. I think it looks a lot better. We'll see how it drives. I think it'll probably drive a lot better. Definitely not going to hear that squeak from the wheel that we had before. And I don't know, maybe those tires are, you know, a little softer compound than what we had before. You know, the tires on it were getting kind of old. A lot of times when tires get old, they're kind of rough. So maybe we improve the ride as well. But anyway, guys, if you did like this video, if you like the upgrade on this truck, please, like always, go down there and smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are not subscribed, you got to go down there, get subscribed. Of course, while you're down there, ring that bell icon that notifies you every single time we drop a new video, and stay tuned to see what we work on next.